Roll call.
Councilmember Schroeder.
Here.
Councilmember Fisickelli.
Here.
Councilmember Jablonski.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz.
Here.
Mayor McKay.
Here. Could we please stand for the pledge? And Gay, would you please lead us?
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We have the pleasure of having our county elected official, Steve Geller, here to speak to us and discuss some stuff. And greatly thank you for coming out and greatly appreciate having you here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council, and public. I'm speaking from over here, so I don't have to have my back to either the council or the public. I have recently been elected to the county commission back in November, but as I hope many of you know, I'm not a stranger to either this area or politics. I served for 20 years in the Florida legislature in both the House and the Senate. As a matter of fact, I will take some credit for Southwest Ranches because when the town was created in, I believe it was 2000, I don't recall, I was either chair or vice chair of the delegation. And so I was the one who introduced the bill in the Senate to create the town of Southwest Ranches because, as your town attorney can tell you, the chair and vice chair introduce all of the local bills into their respective chambers. So I did introduce the legislation responsible for the creation of Southwest Ranches. I have made it my policy when I was in the Senate and House, Senate, and now in the county to speak to every city that I represent. I've had town meetings in several of them. I'm here tonight and will be speaking to all of the others. Can't make people show up and listen, but nobody will be able to say they didn't have a chance to talk to their elected officials. I could tell you briefly on some of the issues that I'm working most hard on, but I really don't want to because of time. I'll tell you I've been very concerned with the issue of job creation. You know, I've been very concerned about the increasing income inequality in Florida and the country, and I think the best way to fix that is by creating more highly paid jobs, and that's been one of my priorities on the commission. Traffic is the single issue that I get most complaints about, and I'll tell you that with the global warming and sea level rise, we're going to have huge problems throughout Broward County, even here, because of, at least here, obviously, if the rising tides reach here, we're all in trouble. But as the seawater rises, we're going to have increasing problems with our wells and saltwater intrusion. So again, you know, these are some of the areas I've been working on. I'll be happy to take questions on those or deal with other topics. So let me just discuss a couple of particular issues to Southwest Ranches and then take whatever questions you or the audience may have. Your city attorney had been contacting me, and I've just back from vacation the last couple of days, about an issue involving water and testing, and said that he had not been able to get a written opinion from the county attorney. It's on his desk now. I hope it's the opinion he wants, but that is what the county attorney is willing to issue. If that's not what you want, Keith, if you'll contact me, we'll see if there's additional issues. Vice Mayor has contacted me about the possibility of trying to get county property, let's see, about on Griffin and about 202 for a public safety building. It's told by the county that the area, A, is too small, and B, the land use is traffic. However, at the request of the Vice Mayor, I will be following up with the sheriff, because if it's just a zoning issue, we can deal with that. If it really is too small for a public safety building, and since the sheriff has both police and fire, he could tell us technically if it is too small, which would confirm what county staff has told me. We will follow up and check on that issue. We've had some concern about people from some constituents here about that Griffin Road is a two-lane road, and they're concerned that when people are taking left turns, they have to come to a complete stop sometimes, and traffic backs up behind them. We've spoken with the county on that, and this particular constituent was requesting a left turn lane from Griffin at 190th Avenue. At my request, and Mr. Mayor, you've indicated that is fairly common. What we have done to follow up on that is check with the county, and the county has agreed that apparently there's a new charter school out there which may have increased the traffic. The last time that the county checked, it did not meet county criteria for adding a left turn lane, but they've agreed that after school reopens, they will do a new traffic study to see whether or not a left turn lane is merited and would meet the county criteria for adding a left turn lane. Mosquitoes. When I'm talking about bloodsuckers, evil bloodsuckers, I want to clarify I'm talking about mosquitoes and not my fellow political colleagues. And we've received several requests from homeowners who are concerned about mosquitoes on their property. We have had the county respond by spraying those individual properties. If any individual property owner feels that they have a unique problem there, they can contact my office, which is 954-357-7005. My chief of staff, Josh, where are you? My chief of staff, Josh, is right there. And we will do what we can to assist. I will add that this Saturday, between 4 and 6:30 a.m., there will be an aerial spraying for mosquito, weather permitting, over all of Southwest Ranches. So I'm sure that most of your constituents will make a point of being up between 4 and 6:30 so they can watch the planes go by. Also, although as I drove by, I was looking, unfortunately, I have not seen the wallaby. And as far as I'm aware, it is still missing. Sorry. The last thing I wanted to go over was not unique to Southwest Ranches, but will affect all of the municipalities and the county. I know you're very familiar with the issue of the homestead tax exemption increase that will be on the ballot. And you know, there is an instinct for everybody to want to vote for an increase in the homestead exemption under the theory that will reduce your taxes. It's not a tax reduction, it's a tax shift, because a lot of what will occur, and maybe not in Southwest Ranches because you have little to no commercial property, but in every place else, what will happen is that the commercial property costs, taxes on those will end up being increased. There's an important issue that I want you to understand and that I will be talking about. There are 29 counties in the state of Florida that are called fiscally constrained counties. That's where the taxes are already at the maximum 10 mills. They are small counties. They don't have the resources. In order to get this bill passed, which it passed by one vote, in order to pass this bill, I think it was one vote, but it was very controversial. They had to agree, the legislature, to make what they call hold harmless the fiscally constrained counties. What that means is that in the 29 small counties in the state tax dollars are going to go to them to make up for the fact that they've lost money in this homestead exemption. I think I don't need to point out to you that most of the tax dollars that the state has available are from counties like Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. So when you're going to vote on this issue, I just want everybody to be aware of the fact that not only is it going to do things like worsen the affordable housing crisis, because taxes will go up on rental properties, because they're not homestead, and that's something that where people frequently live that need affordable housing. What really will happen if this passes is your tax dollars are going to go to pay for the reduced property taxes in 29 small counties throughout the state. And I am not going to be supportive of anything that will be passing and have Broward's tax dollars go to pay to reduce taxes in 29 small counties. I'll be happy to answer any questions from the council or the public or whatever your pleasure is, Mr. Mayor.
Colleagues, got any questions right away?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Go ahead, Gary.
Thank you, Commissioner Geller, for
Yes.
a very large amount of information. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I tried to make
I
it
just
as
have a
quick
couple
as I could.
questions, and you may not be able to answer them, but is the county planning on reopening the landfill that's out west, that's just west of us?
I have checked into that, and I can tell you, I can give you a firm we don't know. There are currently no plans to reopen that. That is currently in use only as an emergency for hurricanes. That doesn't mean that that's not going to change. As of, because that was one of the issues I was looking when I was running for office, and I met at the time, and I met again September, October, November, and at the time the plans were not to reopen it, but to use it only for emergencies.
Okay.
But that's always subject to change.
In that same area, somewhat germane to our town because it's right there.
Yep.
The county has I think it's a 42-acre future site for the men's prison that was
Yes.
bought with bond money way back with Sharon Cochran, I believe, was in office. What are the county's plans on that? Do they have any at this point?
Josh, do you know? As far as I know, there are no current plans. What city is that? That's an unincorporated Broward.
Unincorporated,
We
yeah.
carved that out,
Yeah.
as I recall.
Yeah,
As far as I am aware,
Uh-huh.
there are currently no active plans for what to do with that property.
Well, as I understand, it can only be the prison
Right.
because it was bought with grant money only for that sole
Right.
source. We went through that a couple of years ago, I believe.
Which
with
is
the
probably
commission.
why there is no current active plan.
So
for
there's
what to do there.
nothing out there, no discussions, no.
I've heard nothing, and I believe that is in my district, so I ought to know.
Okay.
I know that the large landfill is in my district, and so that.
It's right next to it. Yeah,
Gotta,
it's right
I'm
adjacent
assuming
to
it has to be also. It's north of Sheridan, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so if it's in my district, Sheridan is my southern boundary back
Okay.
over
So
there.
there's no future plans at this point.
At this point in time. Doesn't mean there won't be next year.
Right.
But at this point in time, there is not, and at this point in time, there's no plan to reopen the landfill. Although I know that there have been people that have been urging that. At least one prominent South Broward landowner has been a vocal proponent of that.
Okay. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
And you, Steve? Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to once again thank you for taking the time to come out here and being so well prepared. It was great to get updates on all those items. That's good.
Certainly, I'll be happy. Anytime you want me, let me know.
Thank you. The property that we were talking a little bit about and that you referenced there for the public safety building.
202
on,
on Griffin,
yeah,
yeah.
202 on Griffin Road. If the sheriff or a representative would like to come out and kind of take a look at that property, take a look at our current facility, because it's in a fairly compact location as well. So if maybe we can do something to do a little bit of conversation there and just see if there's any options that might work, that would be certainly
Again, the
appreciated as well.
question is, and technical, I'm not an expert
I-
at this.
and I
So I've
understand.
already asked the county staff, and they said, no, it's too small.
Yep.
But as I think about it, the person that would actually have the best knowledge of whether or not you can fit a fire station there would be the sheriff, because he runs the county, probably the county fire chief, or someone in the sheriff's office would know that. Sheriff is a friend. I will ask him to give us not whether or not it meets zoning or anything else, but technically, for public safety purposes, is it large enough? Does it have the appropriate access? Is there a problem with having something in the middle of a median?
Right.
And if he says it can be done safely, it's just the zoning is wrong, we can deal with that issue. But unless he tells us that it can be done safely,
Yes.
there's nothing we can do.
Perfect. Good. Thank you very much.
I think if I can jump in on that. The road right-of-way, I don't know what the width is there.
Right.
But maybe, if you widen the road on both sides, depending on what you have in right-of-way, you can add a little more square footage to the center. So I think if they look at it and they don't think about how much road right-of-way they have and know that we can move the road out a little wider,
Right.
so I'd like them thinking outside the box.
Right, and that's why I thought maybe a conversation would be helpful, but, I trust your judgment on that.
Thank you. And what I may do, I'll check with the sheriff, is maybe I can arrange a meeting between the sheriff, me, and a representative of the city, either the mayor or vice mayor.
That would be fantastic.
That'd be great. We greatly appreciate that.
Okay.
That way, then we are all thinking outside the box on whether we can
Right.
do it or not.
And if they say we can do it, I'll do my best to make it happen.
Greatly
But
appreciate
until
it.
they tell me that it's physically possible.
Yes.
Right.
What else?
Anybody else have any questions up here?
I'd just like to thank you for coming out.
Like
It's
I
been a
said,
pleasure.
okay, certainly.
All right. How about audience questions for Steve? No audience questions? I'm really surprised. Wow.
If you can come up to the mic. So that way everybody can hear.
Yeah, I was just wondering why the sheriff would be involved with Southwest Ranches on reviewing the suitability of that piece of property out there. You're aware that Davie provides our police force, right?
Yeah, but the sheriff is in addition to being chief law enforcement, is the chief fire official for Broward County. So wearing his fire hat, not his law enforcement hat, he would have the technical people in his office that could tell us whether or not technically it fits.
Gotcha. Davie also provides our EMS and fire as well. So hopefully they'd be working together on this, and it isn't just the sheriff's office.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Senator,
Yes.
just for the purpose of our residents, and I just mentioned this to Councilmember Jablonski, a lot of our residents don't know the potential charter amendments that may be coming forward from the county.
Nobody does.
Okay, I didn't know what stage they were at in
Okay.
discussion.
There is a charter review committee that is currently meeting. In order to place any charter amendment on the ballot, they have the ability to go directly to the voters, bypass the commission. But it needs an extraordinary vote. I don't recall the exact number, but let's assume that it's a 15-member commission. Normally, a majority is 8. It might need 10. So it requires a extraordinary vote of the Charter Review Commission to put anything on the ballot. They are still in their relatively early stages. They have not yet even drafted any proposals for them to vote on. So there's a blog called Broward Beat. There was an article yesterday because I had spoken to them about reapportionment, and there was an article in Broward Beat on that yesterday. But again, they don't even have anything drafted yet, so it's so premature.
Yeah, the things that we were hearing were strong mayor and making the sheriff appointed rather than elected. We
Those
didn't know
are
where
some
that
of the
was going.
possibilities. I find it unlikely that they will put something on to have an appointed sheriff. I could be wrong, but I find that unlikely. In reference to a strong mayor, again, I do not have an appointment on that because Commissioner Wexler, my predecessor, appointed someone. But all of the appointees were appointed by county commissioners. I know that most of the county commission is not supportive of a strong mayor position. I will tell you, personally speaking, I don't support that because nobody's given me yet a convincing reason why you need one. I would be prepared to consider a non-strong mayor. If anybody's familiar with Fort Lauderdale, I think Jack Seiler has been a very strong mayor there, but he's not officially a strong mayor. They have a city manager form of government. In Hollywood, Mayor Galante and then Mayor Bober, strong mayors. Most cities have a pretty strong elected mayor, and if they wanted to do that instead of right now, the county commission is all elected individually, and then we rotate the title of mayor among the commissioners each year for a one-year term. Some people say that that doesn't give enough continuity. I would probably be okay. I would certainly at least be willing to discuss going with a county-wide elected mayor, but I do think that a city manager, county administrator form of government is the way that most governments run, and is probably more effective, in my opinion, than having an elected mayor to do that. Any other questions?
Anyone else?
No.
Any other questions from the audience? Wow. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, it's been
Awesome.
a pleasure. If there's anything I can do to assist you, please, you or any of the council members, your attorney, your manager can call on me at any time. And if you would like me to come back and speak, I will do my best to do so. And
Steve,
I will
if you
be
want to
here at
come
least
back,
once a year.
the door's open anytime you want to come back and join us, or you even need to use our chambers for something. So if you'd like to have a town meeting out here anytime or something like that, feel free. Awesome. Thank you. All right. All right. Public comment.
Mayor, we have one public speaker tonight, Mike Hanley. Yep.
Okey-doke.
I would like to make a proposal on a road use in our city.
Maybe Davy. We're not sure.
As it stands right now, Weston Road is 4 lanes going north and south. It borders on the south at Griffin Road. At Griffin Road, you have 4 lanes that are pointing south on Weston Boulevard. 3 of those lanes can turn east. The last lane, the 4th lane, is on the western side. It can turn right or it can go straight ahead. But if it goes straight ahead, it goes into Dykes Road, which only has a north and a south lane. So the person that's sitting in the last lane on Weston Road, that is on the western side, if it opts to go south, which they can at this point, they must merge into the lane, in the 3rd lane that's going south. So, because it's only a 2-lane road on the southern side of Griffin. I am tired of sitting at that light waiting for 1 or 2 people that want to go straight ahead to Pembroke Pines on Dykes Road. They have to merge into the 3rd lane regardless. Why not make the westernmost lane of Griffin Road a right turn only? And that way we won't be stopped waiting for the stoplight every single time one person gets in that lane and wants to go south.
We appreciate it. Thank you. And Steve's got a hookup for that, so we're gonna.
Well, council
ahead.
member comments, I'll address that. I have already brought that up with the county, so.
Hooray.
Cool.
Especially at
Thank you.
4 and 5 o'clock when everybody's pouring out of Weston and one jerk gets in that lane and wants to go south, and you have to wait for the whole red light, and one person goes south and 18 cars go right, but they could go right
We're
on
with
the
you,
red
Mike.
turn. Huh?
We're with you.
Okay.
Mr. Martinez, George Martinez, final speaker.
Thank you. Good evening to all. I have an issue with the gate on 190th. I know some of you are familiar with my issue with it.
Talk more into the mic, please.
All right. Sorry. Good evening to all. I have an issue with the gate that's that has been semi-made on 190th. I live on 49th Street. My intersection has been bisected by this gate. I have limited access to that. There's a video that I made, and I think that they just got with the town, that you can see that I have to be in the middle and turnabout right in the intersection. In a case like that, I might have my family members in the car. Somebody can come and take the stop sign and hit me and bisect my motor vehicle with my children behind me. I'm really concerned about this. It not only does it financially hit me, but it's also a violation of state statute 70401, the right to ingress and egress. And that the fact that it has been done, I know it's somewhat private land, but the law holds for all, and it is an outlaw gate. I'm sure that perhaps the town attorney can review it. If I'm wrong, I understand, but you got to understand this. I bought a house with a full road, and now I have an easement to be able to access my house. And I mean, I had a 2-lane road, and now I only have an alley. And it's kind of hard to go there with I don't have the rights of every other member of Southwest Ranches of being able to come in with a trailer with a horse or a trailer, to be able to go inside the property. I'd like to see if you guys can look into it and see if I'm right or wrong, but definitely the law holds 70401. The association that has done this says in its preview or in its review that it follows all state of Florida laws, and they really have not. Thank you. If you could please show the video, if there is one, if it came in.
Yeah, go ahead.
We've received an email, which I believe has a movie file on it. It's entirely up to the council if you want to entertain watching the video.
You guys object to watching the video? No. Okay. All right.
And also one last thing.
How long is it? Do you know how long the video
It's
is?
probably 2 minutes, not even that.
All right.
And
Go ahead, play it. You can have a seat. We'll all look at it together.
And one more thing, Mr. Mayor, I also had an issue when it was being built. I spent 3 weeks without having garbage pickup. I know that doesn't make a difference now. Thank God that you all came through, but it was also a hindrance.
It's
Thank
going to
you.
be a sticky wicket, but we'll look into it.
All right, thank you.
Here we go.
That's it.
That's it, Mayor.
Okay. I don't know. We'll try to look into it and see what we can do, but can't make any promises because it is private property and they do have a POA. All right. Seeing no other public comment closed. Any board reports? No board reports. Okay. Seeing no board reports, council member comments. Anybody want to go first? Go ahead.
Doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
Um,
Steve? Yeah.
Thanks. So, just a couple of, so Mike, after Bob actually brought that up in the last meeting that we had, that same thought, and so I did contact Scott Bruner, who is in charge of traffic control for Broward County. They are looking at that intersection for other reasons. You know, there's recently changed it, moving the 3 lanes. Well, that effort is not done yet. It's kind of about 3/4 of the way done. They're going to still be doing some other adjustments to it, one of which is they're looking into the possibility of, during certain phases of the cycle, limiting a right turn on red, so that when those 3 lanes are turning left and going east on Griffin, that you would not be allowed to make a right turn on red with going north, not south like you were talking about, but going north on Dykes to go east on Griffin. You would not be able to do it for that cycle, that one portion of it, because there's been a number of close calls there. But based on that and the earlier comments, I did go back and I contacted him again, and you know, he said he would look into it. I have not heard back from him on that, but I know that they're still working on a number of things for that that intersection. So I feel comfortable. I've contacted him on numerous things for numerous years, and he's always been exceptional about checking on them and seeing if it'll be an improvement or not. So I'm sure I will hear back from him, and when I do, I will give an update. So it's underway. The only thing else that I wanted to touch on was the mosquitoes. It's already been mentioned that the spraying is going to be happening on Saturday morning, which is good. I did want to touch on one other thing. You know, I've heard some comments just generally from the public that the spraying, the other type of spraying where the truck goes up and down the roads, is a waste of time and a waste of effort out here in Southwest Ranches. And actually, I pretty strongly disagree with that, so I thought I would express it in this forum. It's 2 different things, as was presented to us last time when Anton was here. You know, when they spray from the aerial, it's an insecticide that immediately kills the mosquitoes. So that's why it's so very effective. And plus, it covers the entire town, which also is very effective. What they do when they spray up and down the streets is a whole different process. That spray, as he explained it, does not actually kill the mosquitoes, it kills the larvae. So what happens is you don't have the same immediate response and the immediate kind of gratification that, hey, this is no longer happening. But what it does do is it provides a longer fix, so that within, you know, the next cycle of eggs does not hatch for the mosquitoes. And so a week from then, 2 weeks from then, 3 weeks from then, it's not nearly as bad as it would have been if they didn't spray. So I only say this because I heard some comments that they actually encourage the county not to come out and do that spraying. And I think it's important that they do. There are issues with it reaching the entire, you know, all the areas. I know that. I've got a large wet area in the back of my property. But generally speaking, I've actually have seen it when they spray. And it doesn't just sit out by the road. You know, there's usually some sort of a movement of the wind one direction or the other. And it does cover the property, but it does not provide the same immediate effects that the spraying. So I think the combination of the 2 is the best, and I think that's what's happening. But I did want to just make a comment about the other one. So thank you.
I agree with you, Steve. I think the road spraying when they come down the roads is good. You have to do your due diligence. You have large animals on your property, such as cows, horses, sheep, goat, whatever. You have water troughs that sit out there. If you're not going to empty those, and most of us don't go out with a scrub brush every day and wash them out and dump the water and put fresh water, you just top them off and put more in. You got to put something in there. You got to keep the mosquitoes from laying their larvae and breeding. I've gotten rid of all my tanks. I have buckets hanging on the fence now, and I've got to dump them. You know, I didn't get enough dunks to do it, so, you know, you got to do something to take care of it. So if you have large animals, which a lot of yous do, you have to go out there and you either have to put the dunks in them or you have to empty them and check for the mosquito larvae in there. So, yeah.
You want to go?
Yeah.
Gary?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming, as usual. Very important meeting tonight, which we'll get into shortly as soon as all the pearls of wisdom here have been sown. I just want to briefly mention that we have a couple of things just coming up in August. We have the Parks Foundation with Bingo Night at the Barn. We have some interesting prizes for the bingo. It's the 12th. This is kind of new territory. We've never done this one before, so this could be fun. Of course, and I'm sure there'll be some adult beverages and things of that nature. But, you know, the barn is the barn. And it's from 6 to 9 p.m. Tickets are $20 at the town hall in advance, and December's waiving. She's got a whole stash of them back there. Ready to take your money and help out. And it's $35 at the door, and I believe dinner is included with that. So be a really good night out. Then the other thing is on the 25th is the Education Advisory Board is having a food truck event at the Equestrian Park in conjunction with Hawks Bluff Elementary. It's sort of a back-to-school night for elementary school. It will probably be very, very well attended. DJ, it's a lot of fun. I've been to several of them, and it's a lot of fun. And they'll be doing one of their fundraisers there with some sort of Chinese auction, something like that. So I just want to get that on the record and make sure everybody, set your calendar for it. It's like you got to go. So everybody enjoy it. And that's pretty much all I have today, Mayor.
Awesome. Freddie, go ahead.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to talk to December about it, but over there on our property there, right on the corner of Dyke, we got some beautiful trees growing in there, and they need some work. If you don't have the money that we can do it, I'd like to know, so I'd like to move that along so we can trim those trees back and do what we have to do. Can you come up and talk about it?
Hello. Which property? Southwest Meadow Sanctuary or?
Yeah, right now they got a lot of suckers growing up and down them. They need to be trimmed back and some work on them. I don't know, maybe if we could come up with some fertilizer, but we've got a good opportunity. There's some beautiful trees starting, and we need to take care of them.
I'm sorry, Freddie, I don't know which property you're talking about.
Dykes Road, right there on Dykes and Griffin.
Oh, so those oaks and the other trees that we planted back
We
there.
got quite a bit of oaks that are in there.
Yep.
That need some work, and I know your budget's pretty tight, so that's the reason I'm bringing it up here. If we need to get some money to do something with them, we need to.
We have put all of our tree maintenance budget to work already this fiscal year, so there's no more money in the budget for further tree maintenance. However, even if I had plenty of money right now, it would be hard to get my tree crews out doing work now because everybody's doing their tree work now. They're doing their last minute scramble before hurricane season. Probably the earliest that I could get our regular tree crew out there would be in October anyway. So I would be absolutely glad to, make a commitment to pay some more attention to those trees come the first of the fiscal year with my regular maintenance budget. The presence of suckering or sprouting growth along the trunk, while it's unsightly, actually does some benefit to the tree, providing extra food in the region of the trunk so that the trunk grows bigger and develops better trunk taper. So although it's not as pretty to look at, I don't always necessarily want to hack off everything that grows down below right away. But that doesn't mean that we don't take them off eventually. So yeah, I'd be glad to do that. And if you don't mind being patient until October 1, I'll make that a priority project for regular maintenance in fiscal year 2018. And if you do mind waiting, then I'll see what I can do about rallying some volunteers to get out there and do some work.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Dee,
I'm good.
you're good?
Oh, welcome back, Keith. Yeah, the rest is good for you. You look all rested up.
Hey, I stayed gone just as long as he did.
Yeah, but I want to go where he went.
He went a lot of places. I guess we'll get a tour when he gets up of where he went. Anyhow, I guess I'm up. A couple of things for me. One thing moving forward with this budget, I want to bring up that I think that something we should add to subtract is that we have, I believe it's 700% disabled veterans in town. Is that correct? 7? Marty? Okay. So we have 7 disabled veterans in town. They get mostly 100. They're 100% disabled, and they get no taxes. They get a lot of benefits, but there's one thing they don't get, and they're still paying for garbage. So I believe that the town should step up. There's 7 people, and we should absorb, and the veterans of this town should have 100% disability, have to pay nothing. So I'm looking for you guys' input on that related to it. It totals and amounts to about $4,000 costing the town. So I would greatly like to see that happen. So I'm looking for your support on that. You got anything, Freddie? Go ahead. Join me.
What are you looking for, a motion?
I don't know that I need a motion for that when it comes up. I guess I'm looking for support. What do I want here, Andy?
Mr.
Keith?
Mr. Mayor, let me inject. We can address that matter when it comes up at point of resolution. We've checked with the Broward County Property Appraiser. It would be acceptable to pass a motion in conjunction with the solid waste portion of the budget presentation tonight.
Okay.
But it would need to be ratified tonight, similar to what we're doing with the fire assessment.
Okay. All right. So when it comes up in the budget, we'll make a motion to address it. But thank you, Freddie. Other than that, it's great. I was gone for 2 weeks, and great to be back. But North Carolina was beautiful. I understood it rained here almost every day. I had beautiful weather while I was gone, so sorry. All right, I'm good. Let's see. Keith, legal comments.
Thank
First,
you.
we want to hear about your tour.
Thanks, Mayor. I did just get back.
Welcome
and
home.
I'm still bleary-eyed from Northern Europe. Russell, if you could please show the short video. But no, I had a nice time. For any of you traveling, I will tell you that Russia's as bad as everyone says it is, and Poland is equally as bad, and to stay away. Germany, on the other hand, was delightful, and I was quite surprised by that. So, it's good to be back. We started out this week with a lot on our agenda for the town. The town's Pines trial is moving forward in November. So that's coming up pretty quickly. So we're finalizing our witness lists and things of that nature. On a legal note, this week, myself, Andy, George Morris happened to be here, so we appreciated him walking in to the meeting. Got to meet with and other staff. Russell was there and his nephew and a few other people. Got to sit and meet with Gary Resnick, who's the expert on telecom issues. And we spoke at length about the small cell antennas and how to potentially regulate them to the most extent within the town. Emily was there too. We came out with some interesting and creative ways that only our town could to try to deal with the matter. Mr. Resnick suggested that the town in August do a brand-new zoning in progress effective through the end of December 31st, so that our new regulations would take effect January 1, which is in straight accordance with Florida law. So as a result of that, in the one of the next agendas, I think there's one in August. Is that the August agenda? You'll see a zoning in progress on the small cell, and then he will have a draft to us by the end of October of to the greatest extent allowed in Florida law to help regulate the locations and the design and look of the antennas. So it was a good meeting, but I thought it was very positive, followed by your staff having pickleball thereafter. Other than that, everything is good legally in the town.
Awesome. All right. Andy Burns, you're up.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. This time last month, the council approved the new waste hauling contract with Waste Pro. Staff has had multiple meetings with Waste Pro. They've been here. Staff today, Sandy, Robert, and some others went over toward the Waste Pro facility over in Pembroke Pines. I know that I'm an optimist, but I feel really good. I think we're off to a very good start. I know this isn't even the honeymoon phase. I know we're pre-honeymoon, but they've been appropriately professional, have the right staff. They are obviously local because they're based over on, their office is over on Sheridan. And so they're convenient, they're accessible to us. They made all their people, all different departments available to our staff today. And so recognizing we're very, very early in this process, we are off to a very good start so far. So I'll keep you all updated on that. Tonight, obviously, we have our preliminary millage, fire assessment, solid waste items on the agenda. I know Marty's got a presentation. What I would ask that we let Marty go through the whole presentation once we get to, certainly once we get to that point in tonight's agenda. And then as we handle each item individually, we can back up to the appropriate slides that you may have questions with to make sure that we cover it appropriately. And last but not least, I'll extend the same offer now that I've extended in the past. For any residents that may have questions or issues with the budget, Marty and I will make ourselves available to meet with those residents to try to resolve any questions or concerns that they might have. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, awesome. One thing I forgot to mention that I want to mention is that we're stepping up police enforcement in Sunshine Ranches on Luray and Mustang. And I just want everybody aware of that. So don't say you were not warned. So go look at the council meeting on YouTube. And if you get a ticket, it's your own fault. You've been warned. So, okay.
Then what? Let's spin it out.
I guess number 9, ordinance.
An ordinance of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, amending the Town of Southwest Ranches Unified Land Development Code, ULDC, Article 10, entitled Definitions, to amend the definition of the term family, creating a new Article 141 entitled Reasonable Accommodation Procedures, providing for codification, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Mayor, this is the amendment to the code to enable group homes to be reduced from 8 to 6.
Okay. Awesome. Any public comment on this matter? Seeing no public comment, public comment is closed. Got a motion in a second.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear.
So call the question, please.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor McKay.
Yes. Number 10.
An ordinance of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, amending the Town of Southwest Ranches Unified Land Development Code, ULDC, Article 90, entitled Subdivision Design and Access Standards, providing for codification, providing for conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Mayor, this is the amendment to the code to prevent cut-through streets.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any public comment? Seeing no public comment closed. Call the question.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz.
Yes.
Mayor McKay.
Yes. Number 11.
An ordinance of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, ratifying ordinance number 2017-03's prohibition of cannabis-related uses in the Town of Southwest Ranches, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Mayor, as you know, the Florida legislature recently passed a state law that enables municipalities to opt out from having cannabis sales establishments within their communities. You all previously adopted this, but now we have to re-adopt it because state law came out stating that our ordinance was correct. So it's here for you for reapproval.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay. Any public comment? Seeing no public comment is closed. Call the question.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz.
Yes.
Mayor McKay.
Yes. Number 12.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, setting the proposed millage rate and current rollback rate pursuant to Section 200.065 Florida statutes and establishing the date, time, and place at which public hearings will be held to consider the proposed millage rate and the tentative budget for fiscal year 2018, and directing the town clerk to file said resolution with the property appraiser of Broward County pursuant to the requirements of Florida statutes and the rules and regulations of the Department of Revenue for the state of Florida. Directing that a certified copy of this resolution be sent to the Broward County property appraiser and tax collector, and providing an effective date.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any public comment on this matter? Seeing no public comment? Oh, we're getting older. All right.
Bill Hollingsworth, 198th Avenue. This is where we're setting the millage rate, correct? Is this the one?
Yeah.
That is correct.
Sounds correct.
Yeah.
The maximum.
The
Max, the max.
Yeah, well, the maximum's way too maximum. My opinion is very simply no increase from the millage rate it was last year, period. You have raised the rate so many years in a row now, I forgot when the last time we had a stable rate.
That's cruel.
But true. So I would like to see stable rates this year on last year's rate, which also means that Tisdor should remain last year's rate. So I would say that we had a problem with the Tisdor because we had to dive into the reserve funds. And I don't know if they're all put back yet or not. But we need to put them back. And by reducing Tisdor rates, you can't put them back as fast. So I would like for you to take our millage rates for property owners and leave them the same as last year, and leave Tisdor rates the same as last year. No increases. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may,
Sure.
Marty does have a presentation that may address a lot of this. I'm
Okay.
certainly happy to have public comment. I don't want to do anything to.
So you
discourage
want to
that,
let
but I'd
us
rather-
do Marty's
I'd rather
presentation,
have the
then I will open it back
presentation.
up to the public. How's that?
Just one comment.
Go.
I'm not going to get into his whole budget. He does a great job on it. But concerning any increases this year, I would be very cautious. I know you guys are generally pretty conservative about any budget increases, and you get very upset and very concerned when it's coming our way. But here's the bigger problem. You heard Senator Geller talk about the homestead exemption increase next year. That's going to kill us. That's going to increase our taxes, just to keep things on balance where they are today. So we had a tax increase last year. I don't know if you want to do one this year and then have to do it again next year. So I'd try to hold the line the best you can. Thank you.
Okay, Marty, go ahead and do your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman, the public. Thank you tonight. We're covering the proposed operating Tisdor millages, our initial fire assessment, our solid waste assessment as well. All three are required tonight for initial rate setting, the purpose being a not-to-exceed rate for trim and advertising requirements. I know we've only covered, for the record, a read-in to the millage. I'm just asking, is it okay to proceed with the entire presentation? Because the plans are to complete the entire PowerPoint, and then we'll go
Yeah,
into each
go ahead,
one.
go through the whole thing.
Okay, thank you very much. Basically, we're about halfway into the budget process. Right now, we're at the meeting, the workshop, and the formal hearing stages. Our budget process calendar of events comprised tonight, which I just mentioned about the prelim millage, initial fire, solid waste assessment adoption. On August 22nd, we invite everyone, public invited, at 7 p.m., our proposed budget workshop. On September 13th, Wednesday, 2017, at 6 p.m., that's an early start date, we'll be covering the first public hearing for the tentative millage and budget adoption, and then we'll also cover the final fire protection and solid waste special adoption. The 23rd to the 26th of September, we cover our final budget advertising requirements, and then our second and final millage and budget adoption takes place on Thursday, September 28th, 2017, at 6 p.m. That is in conjunction with our regularly scheduled councilman meeting. Now, I failed to mention at the beginning, we have copies of this PowerPoint throughout the council chambers. There are some up here. If anyone would like to have their own copies rather than looking on the visually, please feel free to get up, take your own copy, and take it back with you, as well as this will be on the website effective tomorrow. So we'll get that in posted for anyone who's missed it tonight, or for the TV audience who'd like to look at it. The summary, I have Rich Strum, our controller, Vanessa Redmond, our county clerk, here tonight, and I'd like to thank all staff, because the budget book has been on the website for 2 weeks now. We hope everyone's had an introduction to the book. There were 3 pages, correction pages, that I distributed to everyone, minor changes. One, I'd like to acknowledge Vice Mayor Bright Cruz, and thank you. It was a cosmetic but significant issue as it relates to the Tisdor portion, and we're going to be covering this later, so thank you, Vice Mayor, and that page has been updated and distributed throughout, including the website. Okay, our summary. We have our adopted rates. I do have a PowerPoint here with red dot. If you could see from the audience, the left side is our adopted from last year, and the right side is our proposed fiscal year 18 rates and fees. And with a comparison, you will see a increase in our operating millage, a decrease in our Tisdor millage. Our fire assessment, our proposal is a $70.36 increase, which represents an approximate 16% residential dwelling unit increase from 2017. And our solid waste is a $65.79 or greater overall average of an approximate 25% increase throughout all residential parcels throughout the town. Specifically, covering the millage portion as an introduction, our ad valorem property tax is starts with our market value, and we all know market value is what someone would be willing to pay to purchase a property. The assessed valuation, which is set by the Broward County Property Appraiser, is an estimate as what someone would pay as of January 1st of this year. So that goes back to January 1st of 2017. The property appraiser's assessed valuation is generally at least 10% lower than market value. And in some cases, you will find it lower much lower than 10% for a number of reasons. So to get to our taxable value, we take the Broward County Property Appraiser assessed valuation, we minus our exemptions. A lot of exemptions. We're all familiar with number one is our homestead. That was talked earlier tonight by Councilmember Geller. Exemptions including our ag exemptions, homestead exemptions, our disability exemptions. That comes up with our taxable value. We take our taxable value, we times it by our millage rate that we're proposing tonight, initial not to exceed. It comes up with your individual parcel tax levy. Now, our next slide says why an increase is needed in our millage this year. Number one is our new public safety services contract. Two is our quality of life and level of service improvements, our program modifications. And all these we're going to briefly go through tonight, and you will see what's all covered. And we'll be open to further workshop and hearing the discussion. Capital improvement projects, and finally, our normal inflation, cost of living adjustments. And for example, this year alone, the Florida per capita change in personal income, it's one of the key measures factors in our state revenue sharing is, and includes real property, is 3.11%. Specifically as it relates to the public safety services contract impact, our previous contract expired. And after extensive contacts and negotiation, resulted in significant increases for this basic but essential local governmental service. For example, and what I've utilized is just our our police services fiscal year 18 impact on the general fund. The impact is $258,223. Now, we've all heard last month we had Marty Kerr here, our property appraiser, mentioned throughout Broward of tax increases throughout the town, of specifically for the town of Southwest Ranches at 7.66. But a key component of your increase includes new net taxable value. This is new additions, new constructions throughout the town. And unfortunately, out of our 7.66%, only approximately 1%, 1.3% is related to net new taxable value. So the net new taxable value, I did a quick calculation with the third and fourth bullet points, that the income derived from just the net new taxable value would generate $71,978. It's a small number, but it is a new dollar value that is thrown into the pot. However, when you take just the police services impact and you subtract out the net new taxable value, you're left with a deficit of $186,245. That needs to be spread over the existing properties and parcels. So, unfortunately, the net new property additions is not great enough to cover not only the entire budget, but for this example, you will see the deficit of $186,245 as it just pertains to the police services portion of our public safety contract. Our second item regarding the millage is we're proud to propose to you 11 program modifications. Our volunteer fire department safety equipment. Our first is our officer car replacement. We have a well-aged existing vehicle. Now, we listed these as funded, But funded sources come from multiple areas. They could come from millage, they could come from grants, they could come from fund balance, and they could come from debt. Council policy is no debt, no increase in debt, so that has not been touched or is an option for the town. So there's 3 areas: fund balance, millage, or grants and donations, contributions. The officer car replacement has no budget impact. The volunteer fire has offered to utilize their fundraising account to fund this volunteer officer vehicle for next year. Second item is the master deck hose gun replacement. Third, we have our communication equipment replacement upgrade. Now, this is a technology upgrade due to that we've been aware of over the past 2-3 years, a Broward County equipment change to TDMA technology that is a public safety need. So all public safety vehicles and equipment and manpower can communicate with each other. Bunker gear replacement, small dollar amount. And another item is our self-contained breathing apparatus replacement is $77,929, and that is net of anticipated grant proceeds. We have that application in. We've been waiting for a reply on the result of an acceptance. If that is not received, that would be carried over, but it gives us an option to fund it for next year. Technology replacement program. This includes new firewalls and town hall workstations. And then we have quality of life service improvements. It would include our town hall exterior painting, town hall council chamber floor replacement. In this room, we're still using the original floor that we moved in. The pros playground equipment maintenance, and that is townwide playground equipment maintenance is proposed. Planning improvements, a stormwater master plan is funded to provide stormwater management in regards to our drainage, Diablo Advisory Board, assistance for future stormwater needs. Okay, Diablo. And as well as our comprehensive plan update. Data, inventory, and analysis, much needed. The request was $20,000. We're phasing that in over 2 years. $10,000 is funded in 2018. Capital improvement projects, we're on our 3rd area why the millage is proposed to be increased. Capital improvements projects funded include fire wells replacement and installation, a new public safety fire rescue modular facilities as required by our new public safety contract. We're going to make further progress on mostly all of our parks, Frontier Trails, Calusa Corners, Country Estates, Sunshine Ranches, and the new program, new shift, is for our pros entranceway signage. Another item includes our town hall complex, safety, lighting, and drainage improvements. We have restricted funding we must utilize. However, there is a slight millage impact with this program. And then we have our ongoing transportation projects, including Tisdor, guardrails, drainage improvements, and pavement striping and markers program. And as a reminder, the Tisdor require funding separate from the regular operating millage. Moving into that portion, the Tisdor portion, regarding to Tisdor, Tisdor consists primarily of road resurfacing and restoration throughout the town. For fiscal year 17 and 18, the millage cost is $495,000. The net millage equivalent is 0.3804, and that is a reduction from the 0.4050 from fiscal year 2016-17. And overall, the project, as you will note in your budget book, it's a $990,000 project for fiscal year 2018, but $495 is funded from the transportation fund balance carryover and will not impact the proposed 2018 millage rate. Our next slide includes the rollback rate, moving on up to our max majority rate. The adopted rate from last year in purple is our proposed rate. And then, of course, the unanimous rate, that's the max that all municipalities can assess every year at 10.0. That would require a 5 votes majority. The maximum supermajority is what's needed under our proposed rate, 4 out of 5 at 4.7605. And the impact on a increase of a $250,000 taxable value is $141 per year. Now, the combined rate impacts, our operating millage rate impacts. Next slide, please, Rich. The proposed rate for operating millage is 4.3801, and that represents a 0.2976 millage and a $141 increase per $250,000 of taxable value, which primarily covers the significant increases in our public safety services, as well as funding our new and ongoing program mods and capital improvement projects. Our transportation surface drainage ongoing rehabilitation, the TISDOR, this proposed funded amount is the same from last fiscal year, $495,000, and therefore represents no increase per $250,000 of taxable value. The millage rate, however, at 0.3804 is a decrease from the prior year adopted TISDOR millage rate due to the fact that the town experienced a rise in overall taxable value. So it's a numerator-denominator mathematic equation that lowers the TISDOR millage because we've kept the TISDOR funding the same. Our residential fire rates, the proposed rate results in a $70.36 increase per residential dwelling unit category. And our solid waste rates, the proposed rate structure reflects a new collections, disposal, and recycling contract in place with the impact similar to that of our public safety services. Therefore, these rates require an increase of $65.79 or more, depending on parcel lot square footage. Okay, moving specifically into our fire assessment component. This assessment is permitted per Florida statutes, chapters 166.021 and 166.041, and is adopted by Town Ordinance 2001-09. 2001-09 requires that an annual rate be established each year. The only parcels proposed to be exempted are 7 homesteaded properties owned by 100% disabled veterans. The $3,629 impact resulting from this tax exemption is absorbed within the general fund. And tonight, we need the initial resolution for statutes, trim notices, so they can be distributed by the Broward County Property Appraiser's Office. Our next 2 slides, I provided the category comparative over the course of 5 years, 4 in the past, and the proposed. Our top one being our residential, which has a slight trend upward. Our lower slide, or our lower comparison on the lower side, is the vacant and agriculture. Our second slide, on the top, we have three, I know it's hard to read or see, the top line is our 4-year history, the current year proposed for our industrial warehouse, our commercial, and our institutional. Those are the 5 categories of fire assessments that we have within the town of Southwest Ranches. Our impacts, we have the $70.36 increase per dwelling unit. Our vacant agriculture has a $12.72 increase, and that's on a per acre basis. So it's not all apples to apples because they're different components and measurement factors. Acreage for vacant and agricultural, dwelling units on residential. We have square foot building area for our remaining 3, industrial warehouse, institutional, and commercial. Finally, we're going into our solid waste garbage portion. This is permitted per Florida Statutes Chapters 197.3632. The annual rate is established required by our town ordinance 2002-08. And again, this initial resolution is also needed tonight for the assessment to comply with Florida statutes and use in the trim notices that will be distributed by the Broward County Property Appraiser's Office during the month of August. Our proposed solid waste rate changes, with the changes from 16-17, you look over to the far column, the difference and the increases, you will see increases from smallest size on top. They call them tranches, tranches and assessment A down to F. This was performed in accordance with our solid waste study years ago and conforms with our lot square foot range. The increase of $65.79 to $173.59 for the largest lot parcels. Our impact on these rates is over the past 5 years, that's from 2013 to 2017, the solid waste collection rate decreased by nearly 35%. However, the contractual agreement which allowed for these reductions reached the end of its term. After going to bid, formal bid, and establishing numerous contacts, negotiation, the lowest responsive and responsible bidder required a significant cost of service increase of 73% to offer the similar services. However, with the utilization and the proposed utilization tonight of $300,000, just over $300,000 of solid waste fund net position, the fiscal year 2008 proposed average increase is approximately 25% and will be smoothed over all property categories. Residential rates would only increase by approximately 17% for a lot square footage of up to 41,200 lot parcel square footage. Finally, and it's important to look back, that's why we keep track of history and transparency, on a very positive note, that I know we're talking about increases tonight, but the proposed fiscal year 2000 rates ranges tonight remain lower than all of the property rate ranges retroactive from fiscal year 2002 by an overall average of 16.6%. So we're still paying less than over 5 years ago, on a positive note tonight.
That was 2012, not 2002.
I'm sorry. Thank you. 2012. So, and that's an overall average. It depends on your lot size. Some have a greater savings. So 16.6% decrease from 2012. In conclusion, it is your town administrator and town financial administrator's recommendation that the Town Council of Southwest Ranches adopt a resolutions presented tonight, setting the rate maximums which provide for increasing the operating millage, decreasing the TISDOR millage, increasing fire assessment rates to property owners, and for smoothing solid waste recycling rates closer to market through a graduated rate increase. Thank you, and I'm completed at this time.
Okay, Mayor, that concludes the staff's presentation. You currently have a motion and a second on the floor on the millage rate. I know you had opened it to public comment. I don't know if you want to reopen it to the public before council consideration.
Yeah, absolutely. I said I'd open it back to the public, so I want to open it back to the public.
Good evening, Council. David Kaczynski, 6411 Holity Trail. In a vacuum, without a millage increase, just by the sheer act of the property appraiser increasing the values of my property, that I'm going to be paying more in taxes. So just that alone, by the increased value of my property, my taxes are going to go up. So I'm going to ask you to hold firm to last year's numbers, because I'm sure that the value of my property from Marty's office is going to be more than $200 over next year. Thank you.
Any additional public comment? See no additional public comment. Public comment is closed. Back to us.
Well, even though we made a motion and stuff on this and we're going to end up voting, I mean, I'm not happy with it, and I do want to see us make some changes on it. I mean, I'm going to approve this for the maximum, but I just want you to know that we need to really look at this and make some serious changes out there, because it doesn't just affect them, it affects everybody sitting up here too. And so we will be doing that, definitely.
So let me state that I'm going to support it for two reasons. First of all, I have no intention of going there, but you've got to set it. If something else comes up or there's a surprise between now and then, you need that window. I don't see a surprise coming, but I'm going to okay the millage right at the moment, but I fully have 100% of any intention of going there. So I just want to state that. This is just the time that we have to set it. You can't go above it. You can always go below it. So just setting the record straight here. I also am not in favor of doing this buffer thing and using $300,000 in gradually doing a little bit this year increase and a little bit next year increase. I think it is what it is, and I think we just deal with it moving forward. As far as the garbage or whatever other increase we have related to that. So I'm just telling it like it is. I don't know if everybody's supporting that or not.
Well, we're just on millage now.
So.
Well, we're just on the millage now, so.
Yeah,
not-
no, I
not the
understand,
other
but I
stuff.
just wanted to set it
Right,
so people understand.
okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so, you know, this is a difficult year because we are a contract town, and we renegotiated
A few.
our two largest contracts this year. From a waste standpoint, as was brought out in the presentation, we were in a very good situation for the last 5 years. Our vendor was probably losing over $100,000 a year in servicing our community, which is probably why some of our service issues popped up and why we had such a tough time you know, getting them to do what we wanted them to do. They probably would have loved to have us just cancel the contract and walk away. So unfortunately, that contract has run out, or fortunately, because frankly we need better service than we were getting. But unfortunately, those levels of cost have run out, and as you can see, when we renegotiated those, they went up significantly, over 70%. So that hurts, and that's a reality. We're a contract town. We live off contracts, and that's a good thing because contracts are generally lower cost than if we did that in-house. There's certain things that we've identified over the years that are actually more cost effective to bring in-house. Used to be engineering was also contract. We determined that that was actually, we were spending more money than we needed to there, and we brought that in-house, and that has worked out really well. So, but because these two key contracts have been renewed at higher rates this year, we're feeling the impact of those. Nobody likes it. Nobody is comfortable with that. I'm sure that we have all looked over this budget and found ways that we can decrease from where we're at. I know I've already met with Andy and with Marty already to point out some things that I think we need to look at and work on. We're going to have a workshop coming up where we want your input as well to get other ideas on ways to save money and to do bring this more in line with what we want it to be. It's going to be a hard task. Yeah, this year because of the increases. And Mayor, in support of what you're saying, I tend to agree with what you're saying as far as the solid waste and biting the bullet. But on the other hand, in talking to residents that are going to, potentially struggle with this, I think maybe there's a balance there too. So it's something that we can, continue to talk about. But I don't disagree with the sentiment of what you're saying. So it's a difficult year. It's nice when we go through the budget process and we can keep the millage the same, and we can kind of congratulate the team on doing a great job in doing that. But I know these years the team, and I mean all of staff, has worked probably harder in a year like this to try and find ways to avoid where we're at. And so I still want to congratulate them on the hard work that they've done and will continue to do over the next few months until this is finalized and reduced as much as it possibly can. But so I don't want that to be drowned out. I know there was still a lot of hard work that went into this, but we still have a lot of hard work to go.
Just to reiterate on that workshop's going to be on the 22nd. So the budget is there. I mean, pick it apart, dig on it, get it down as low as you can because, it can be done. It just definitely can be done. So remember, please come out on the 22nd. Bring your neighbors, family, everybody needs to have a little input on this. Thank you.
Gary.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Steve, well said. Appreciate that. Staff has worked really hard on this, and I want to remind everybody that this is very easy to track. It's online. It's very transparent. It's open compared to be online tomorrow. Sorry, compared to what we've experienced years ago. We can now make intelligent decisions, and wants and needs get satisfied. I'm in support of approving this tonight, but not being the final number, as I'm sure this is sentiment all the way across the dais. I would think that any changes to any of this should be made during the workshop when the public has input on it. I think that's really, really important because I think any changes we make right now to any of this is being proposed, people are going to they're not going to be very happy with us. I just see that coming. We're in an increase year, and it's painful, and it's going to be more painful when we start cutting stuff, and some things are going to be taken out of the program mix.
It'd be painful.
Yeah, it'll be painful all the way around. So, I'm okay with it being right now as a top of the line statement. When it gets to the bottom of the line, I think that should be done at the workshops. Myself personally, so just want to mention that.
Anybody else? D?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second. So call the question.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor McKay.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Next.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, approving the preliminary fire services assessment relating to the provision of fire protection services, facilities, and programs in the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, providing purpose and definitions, providing for the imposition and computation of fire protection assessments, incorporating the fire protection assessment report, providing for legislative determination of special benefit and fair apportionment, establishing the rate of assessment, directing the preparation of a preliminary assessment roll, providing for a disabled veterans exemption, authorizing a public hearing and directing the provision of notice thereof, and providing an effective date.
I make a motion.
Second.
Any public comment? Seeing no public comment is closed. Back to us. Any questions or discussions? We're good here?
Again, this is just like the last one. It's, this is set at this rate. It doesn't mean it can't change. We can tweak, we can bring it down, yes.
Okay.
So.
We're all good?
We're good.
All right, call the question.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli, Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor McKay.
Yes. Next one.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, relating to the provision of solid waste services, facilities, and programs to residential properties in the Town of Southwest Ranches, Florida, providing authority for solid waste services assessments, providing purpose and definitions, providing findings, incorporating the solid waste special assessment methodology report, directing the preparation of an assessment roll, authorizing a public hearing and directing the provision of notice thereof, and providing an effective date.
I make a motion.
Second.
Any public comment? Seeing no public comment is closed. Back to us, no discussion. All right, call the question.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor McKay.
Yes. Next. Adjournment?
Mayor, you had no interest, Mayor? You had no
Yeah.
interest in bringing up
In the 100%?
well, that was, you just approved it without it.
All right, well, I want
You
to,
got a, so we can do that on the 20th?
no, I think it's got to be done sooner.
You're done. It's approved without it. You're done.
I can't go back and open it?
No, because you just approved it this way. Well, no, you could do a motion to reconsider now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to do a motion to reconsider. Huh? The last item?
Second.
Okay.
Again, for anyone who's confused here on what's going on, and
Earlier
apologize
than I
for that.
mentioned. Go ahead.
Earlier in the meeting, the mayor mentioned that he was seeking to do 100%
Disability.
disability to give veterans who are 100% disabled free garbage pickup.
To waive it.
In order to give them the free garbage pickup, you have to amend that last resolution to do so.
Okay.
The last resolution was approved without it, which is, if the council was fine with it, it's fine. But I just wanted to mention to the mayor, this is his
Yeah.
only chance he has to bring up the issue if he wanted it considered.
Yeah,
So the mayor
Need a motion to reconsider.
passed the gavel to vice mayor to do a motion to reconsider the last item, which was seconded by Councilmember Schroeder.
Okay, so do we need to call that to open it?
You do. You need 3 affirmative votes to reopen it.
Do we gonna get discussion on that?
There's no discussion
No
on
discussion,
a motion
just-
for reconsideration.
Call the question.
Councilmember Schroeder,
No.
Councilmember
Yes, to
Fisickelli.
open it back up.
Yeah, I did. I made the motion.
But you said no.
She doesn't. She was voting no to reopen it.
Oh, no to reopen. I thought it was yes to reopen it.
She.
I do want to discuss it.
Okay, so the answer is yes.
Yes,
That's
sorry.
where I was going.
Yes, I do want to discuss it.
Okay.
Councilmember Fisickelli,
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor McKay.
Yes.
Item is back on the floor, Mayor. Vice Mayor has the gavel, and it's up to you to bring up your matter. And
So what I'd like to do, we have 7 100% disabled veterans that live in town. They already have 100% tax benefit from the county, from everything but garbage. I would like to include garbage in that so they're 100% on everything across the board. So I'd like to make a motion to grant them waiver of the garbage. I guess that's what I'm asking for. So I'm looking for a second, if I may.
Yeah, Doug, I think we're only talking about 6 people on it.
7. You're correct. Yeah. Huh?
Oh, you need a
I need a second. I made a motion. I need a second. You second it?
Yeah.
Okay. Freddie seconded it. All right. If you'd please call the question. Discuss it? Oh, okay. I thought
Let's
you
have
guys.
a little discussion.
I didn't realize you
okay?
guys
That's
had
the reason why you didn't get a real fast.
It sure is taking a long time to get to discussion.
Go ahead.
You know, this is a difficult thing to vote on, because clearly the veterans are individuals that, and 100% disabled veterans are individuals that are, have sacrificed greatly for our country and for our community. And so this is a difficult item to discuss and to talk about. My concern is this: there's no other city or town in Broward County that waives this. If we waive it here, you know, then other residents are paying for it. Do they deserve it? Absolutely, they deserve it. Do all our other residents deserve to have to pay it? I don't know. I'm hesitant about that. So, you know, we would be the first ones in the county to do it. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But I'm strongly conflicted on this item for those reasons. That do they deserve it? Once again, absolutely they deserve it. But I'm just not sure with all the other increases this year that our other residents deserve to have something more added to them. That's all.
Gary?
I kind of
Dee,
agree.
you wanna go?
I agree with Steve. This is going to be a tough year for us because of the budget. You know, it's something to take into consideration. I'm not just going to talk about the military. I'm going to talk about our other services like police and fire. You know, maybe not so much right here in this small little town of Southwest Ranches, but there are men and women out there that put their life on the line every single day. And just because you're in the military, and these guys deserve everything. You don't know what their disability is. You can't say, oh, well, this one here, you know, is without this or without that. We don't know what they are. We just know that they were granted 100% disability. So because of it being a difficult year, and because there's other people out there that I feel are probably just deserving, you know, I mean, like I said, ours is a small town, so we don't get maybe the impact of New York City or something like that, where a police officer, every single time he walks out that door, could be the very last time he sees his family. Does he not deserve a break? You know? So I think I'm going to hold off and say maybe not this year. This is something that we maybe need to think about a little bit more.
Yeah,
Gary?
Yeah, I'll jump in. We talked about this, I think, a year or two ago. And, you know, the veterans, do they deserve it? Of course they do. I mean, there's no argument with that whatsoever. Whether or not we can afford it, that's another story. Right now we're going out to all the residents and we're telling them they're going to average at least between garbage pickup and fire. They're going to get hit with a $200 increase. That's going to affect a lot of people, especially people on fixed incomes. And now we're going to ask them to pay for others. Somebody's got to pay that bill. So now we're going to ask them to pay for those other services. You know, and it was a tough call back. It was a tough call 2 years ago or a year ago, whenever it was. And it's a tough call right now. It's even tougher. Generally speaking, I wish this is something we could put forth on the 22nd and give the residents enough time to, I know there were a lot of residents that were opposed to it, to get a chance to talk about it. And I kind of thought that's what would happen, but Keith informed me that it has to happen now or it's not going to happen at all, kind of situation. I was kind of thinking that it was going to be at the budget workshop, but apparently that's not going to fly. I have a hard time supporting it because we already do the fire for them, and we went through that in 2010 and 2011. I remember that was a very long process to get that through and to get the residents. The residents were actually on board with all of that. Let me tell you something. Let me propose an alternative here. It's a very minor alternative, but it might satisfy both camps. What if we gave the veterans like a 50% off of what the collection services are? Something like that. Would you guys consider something like that? I think that's something more palatable.
Better than nothing.
Yeah, I'm really talking half a loaf here. I really am, because this is a tough budget year. You know, I could support something like that. We'd be as Steve said, the only municipality that would do it, and maybe we set a trend, maybe we don't. You know, but we're asking all our residents to pay more money. That's it. Even if we go back to last year's rate, everybody's still going to get a $200 give or take increase. Even going back to the last year's rate. So that's, I just want to make sure everybody understands that through the fire assessment and through the garbage, you know, and the other problems, you know, that go out. And in talking about the smoothing over, I really didn't get a chance to weigh in on that, but I really think we need to look at the realistic numbers that are involved in that on the 22nd, if we can do that. And because, you know, one hurricane and that wipes out our contingency fund in milliseconds, and we need to have that available. So I'm not sure that that's prudent to apply that, you know, in such a manner. You know, we got to be physically responsible. But I would be in support of some sort of reduction, so that we can. And I know this is dear to your heart. I understand that, Mayor. You know, and God bless you. I don't doubt. You know, you're very sincere in what you're doing, and you're fighting for it. I could support something like that if you'd want to reconsider that or something like that, because it's a tough
Listen,
call this year.
I'll take whatever I can get at this point of the game. I mean, the difference is $4,000 to $2,000 is the difference.
It's exactly it. But we are talking a lot of
Listen,
symbology here, and we are talking about.
I am positive that the 700% disabled veterans that live in our town would be grateful for anything. So I would tell you I would accept a 50% cut in that.
You kind of have to look at it too. When you say veteran, I mean, there's nobody sitting in here that wouldn't support veterans. I mean, nobody.
The only thing we're talking about is 100% disabled veterans, no one else.
I understand that. You know, you have to look at that like a charity. And I can remember Mr. Brightcruz, Vice Mayor Brightcruz saying, you know, we didn't have the right to take the taxpayers' money and donate it to a charity that we wanted. Not that they're a charity, but it's, you know, you're splitting hairs there.
They clearly don't want to be considered a charity.
I would bet dollars to donuts if you brought every one of those people in here, they would say, hey, we'll pay our garbage. That's not a big deal for us. There is no fee for them for their ad valorem tax. You know, they get a huge break. And like I said, because of the budget this year, and we don't know where we're going, and we don't know if we're going to get hit in milliseconds and use up all our money because of a hurricane this year, I think it's just wise to, you know, save whatever you can where you can. So just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, this is a you know, this is a difficult call because honestly, with your heart, there's nothing I would rather do than just vote for this. And you know, it's I don't know what to say with that. You know, you know, I don't feel this is the right year to do it. I'll just say that, you know. If it's, you know, I hate to not support it, though. Our veterans deserve it. Our veterans deserve it. How can I say it? Our veterans deserve it. But it's tough. It's very tough for me to put it on the rest of the residents. That's the reality. It's just very tough for me to, on a year like this where things are going up, to put more on it is that's also very tough. So you know, I don't know. I'm still thinking about my vote, to be honest with you. I'm not comfortable with. You know,
Marty, you look like you're over there calculating what this would cost each one of the taxpayers. So do you have any numbers out there you could throw our way?
Just as a guide, Mayor McKay was accurate. It's approximate of $4,000 per year. But with the smoothing, with the next year, with the graduated increase, it would increase, let's say, another 20%. So it could be $5,000 next year. So we need to get back to market value. So that's a factor. The third thing I want you to all know is this does not impact the general fund. It will impact our solid waste, our enterprise fund. So this is separate and apart. And there is presently, as of 16, we have in excess of $1 million of reserve to draw from, of which, according to the book, everyone will see, we're utilizing 300,000. That will leave us 700,000. But as was also brought up by all of you tonight, it is important to have emergency reserve. And it's in addition to our line of credit that is coming up for renewal next year. So there's a lot of factors that go into it that you just need to be aware of. And also, the last one was correct. There is no other municipality, and staff have investigated, that offers the solid waste exemption. And another comment I'd like to say is in regards to the fire waste, fire assessment. There's only half of the towns and municipalities offer the 100% disabled. So there are not all municipalities even offering the 100% disabled veterans exemptions. That's all the facts I have.
So, Marty, without the smoothing, if we were to not do the smoothing this year, what would the increase be for the 7? What would the cost be?
I haven't done a full analysis, but we would be, as I mentioned, we're 16% below our 2012 rate. We'd be probably
So that's the 5,000
above,
you mentioned.
right. We'd be 5 or 10% above our 2012 rates. It's a significant impact. It's another 30% cost that we'd be facing.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate the sentiment. I appreciate that they deserve it. I don't think this is the right year for it, and I apologize to the veterans for that, because you guys deserve it. But it's you know, we do a lot already, and the residents, the other residents, are in for a significant increase that is very painful. So. You know.
All right, call the question.
Councilmember Schroeder?
You want to
No.
read the motion?
Oh.
Well, Gary asked me to.
Sorry. She had started voting, so I wanted to make sure we got it. The motion that's on the table is to give 100% disabled veterans 50%, I think it was
Yeah.
No.
100%? I heard the discussion.
It wasn't
The motion
amended.
was 100%,
How
excuse
much
me.
for the 100
Motion
to
was
accept
100.
He just
Yeah.
suggested, he
Yeah,
didn't, he
okay.
didn't amend it.
All right, it's fine.
Yeah.
Motion was 100%, I apologize.
I didn't get a second on the 50.
Okay, keep
They
going.
want public comment.
They want public comment?
They're in the middle of voting, so, I mean, they're literally just voted.
Well, they public comment.
They didn't have to.
You guys mind?
So we're voting on the 100%.
Well, I'm going to give 50, but do you mind if I open it to
I
the
just want
public?
to know what we're doing.
The motion on the table is 100%. I didn't
100%.
see that the 50 didn't get a
Well,
second.
I think we can take the vote on that. Hopefully that will fail, and then we can open up to public comment. I think would be the appropriate way to
I
move
agree.
forward.
Really?
I agree.
Okay. You want to open the public after we vote on it?
We're in the middle of a vote. I don't think we can open it now.
I don't know that we're in the middle, but why would you bother opening the public after you already voted on it?
Vice Mayor, what Vice Mayor Bright Cruz is suggesting is that he doesn't believe, and I don't believe either by listening to the comment, that this 100% is going to get 3 votes of the commission. And as a result, there'll be no motion on the table, and then if the public wishes to speak, there could be a secondary vote.
But I guess the question for me is maybe the public has something important to say.
Then you can make another motion with the 50%.
Go ahead and call the question.
Councilmember Schroeder,
No.
Councilmember Fisickelli,
No.
Councilmember Jablonski,
No.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz,
No.
Mayor McKay.
Yes. Okay. Public
Yes.
comment? Go ahead.
Make a motion.
Do I need to make another motion? Okay.
Yes.
I make another motion to give the disabled veterans 50% reduction on their garbage bill.
I second.
Okay, now, for purposes of discussion in the council, while we will allow discussion and a vote to go through, if this should pass, the law doesn't actually enable you in this waste resolution to give them 50%. It's 100% or nothing. So as a result, what we would do is we would make it clear that they have to pay their full share, but then they would get a rebate of 50% afterward. So it's just a technicality in case it passes. I just want to explain it.
Go ahead, public comment. Come on up.
Mike Hanley, this statement here doesn't differentiate between a disabled veteran exemption or a specific 100% number of 6 disabled veterans. So I think you need to adjust the wording, because I'm a disabled American veteran and I'm not going to get this exemption. So you're specifically stating that you only want to give it to 6 people, but the wording here says a disabled veteran.
Okay.
I'm one, so will I get an
Marty will
exemption?
get the clarification. But
He's correct.
It should be we have 7 100% disabled veterans in town.
That is correct. 100% disabled. There are other exemptions from 1% to 99%, but they do not receive the fire exemption or the solid waste.
Okay.
Bob Hartman, 5441 Southwest 198 Terrace. I would recommend you get in touch with Marty Kier. If you remember when he was here, he talked about all the different exemptions for veterans. And I do recall there's a difference between a 100% disabled veteran and a 100% combat disabled veteran. The combat disabled veterans get everything, I shouldn't say everything, they get lots of things for free. The 100% disabled, like my father was, don't get nearly the same benefits. So I would recommend, for clarity, you use their definitions.
Noel Hollingsworth. I believe that if the 100% disability is service-related, someone could have, fallen out of a plane, the wing, or whatever, or could have been in an accident while being transported somewhere and be 100% disabled, and that not being a combat-related. But they still were serving our country, and they still deserve our respect. That's on one level. The other level is that we have others within our town which deserve the same thing because they were serving our county or our state at the same level. And I'm talking about first responders, fire and police. I know of one fire family in our town whose father lost his life in a fire-related accident where the roof collapsed on him and killed him. He's a resident, the family's a resident of our town. And I know of 2 police officers who died in the line of duty here in our town. And they also, I believe, have the same ability because they gave their lives for our town. And their families are here and they're living on survivor benefits. Is that any different than being 100% disabled? And there probably is some disabled first responders who were, because I know you hear this story, there's one that, was shot in the back, he's paralyzed. He doesn't live within our town, but he's 100% disabled. And we have others that are fire-related disabled because if they got fire in the lungs or whatever, and they are 100% disabled, and they were service-related. So why are they different than, military? I think it's something that we need to look at and say whether or not we as a community believe that they are all equal. So we need to find out just what those people are. We got the few that are 100% related right now. But we also have others, and they have never asked for anything in this manner. They have just suffered in silence, and they've lost their father, or they lost their mother in the line of duty, and the community has closed around them and helped them as we have on 199th through this period and continuously since then. So I would ask you to take a look at that at the same time, and maybe not for this year, but in the future, to add those as necessary to what our community believes and what our community respects and what I believe those families deserve. Thank you.
I'd like to say that we are all in great feelings toward this. We want it to happen. I have my own little business, and I would think that this would be a good idea to have you guys talk to the vendor and explain to them this need. If they would somehow give the city a small minor discount out of all that money they're taking. And as this would also be a blessing for them as far as other cities giving them business. And I mean, I thought that would be an idea.
Appreciate
They
it.
can write it off on taxes.
I thought that was a great idea. And it might give them the opportunity of advertising how they're doing it as a tax write-off. But I want to say something. I'm really annoyed that it would be brought up that other states, other counties, other towns, whatever, don't do this. We're unique. We're different. We don't do 90% of what the other counties or the other towns do. We really don't. We're our own little niche. We do what we want to do, what's right. And we have not that many in town that need help. 6. It's approximately $2 a head. I mean, we're going to get a hike anyway. You add $2 more, $3 more, I'm not going to feel it any worse than I'm going to feel this. $3 is going to make the difference. If you told me I was going to pay $100 more, that might make a difference. But $2 or $3, not to help somebody. So don't fall back on this garbage that nobody else is doing it, so we shouldn't do it. That's bull. We do what we know is right because the rest of the country doesn't know what's right. So we got a bunch of people that are homeless. Oh, well, that's okay because nobody else is taking care of them. You know, we are who we are, and we're different. And if they don't like it, tough. But we are different. And that's what makes this country tick. And until they wake up, we're not going to get any better. We're going to get worse. But if we wake up, we're going to get better. We got to work together. Thanks.
Any additional public comment? Seeing no public comment's closed. Back to us. Go ahead, Dee.
We are unique. We do things different, but we have to exist. We have to take care of our own kind first, and that includes them. And like I said before, I don't think that's a big assessment to them. What Mr. Martinez had to say was not a bad idea. This is something you could talk to a vendor about and see if they'll eat it and write it off. As Marty said, these increases can keep going up. This is probably not the year. Could we discuss this for next year or something? Absolutely, bring it back. But I can't support this right now knowing what's coming, and we don't know if we're going to be able to keep the millage rate down. So I think the people that are paying for it right now, you know, they deserve as much a break as possible. Again, I'm going to put it back as an organization type thing. You're taking their money, which if you asked each an individual, they might say, no, I can't afford it this year. You know, I can't give to anybody else. I'm struggling to keep food on the table and get my taxes paid and everything else. So I'm not in favor of doing this year.
I'll jump in for just a second. It was kind of like I modified your first idea with the 50%. I did some quick math on it. You're looking at approximately the impact to our all our residents is about, if I've done the math correctly, about 80 cents a household. And that's basically it. And we're honoring the military. It's about 80 cents a household is
Right now,
what
but
it
what if
affects.
it, Marty
And
said it
that's,
goes up?
that's why I proposed the 50%. I figured that was something that we could get behind, help out Doug with his, in support of that. I think we can do the right thing and we can still be true to all our other residents is why I voted for that, and I'm in support of the 50%.
So, you know, I feel for what was said, you know, as I said in my statements earlier, that, you know, we would be the first to do this, but maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. You know, I do feel that, you know, 80 cents, all right, that's a very small number. You know, my calculation was about $1, but regardless, it's all about the same. So, you know, I will support this, the 50%, you know, but I am still, you know, have mixed feelings about it. I would like to see the administration contact Waste Pro and see if they will contribute so that our residents, that's a great idea, thank you. And I think that that may resolve all the issues. It may work out best for all three parties.
Yeah.
They can use it to their benefit, we can use it to our benefit, and the veterans get what they deserve. So, under that, you know, I can support it.
Mayor, if I may.
Yep.
Now seeing that there's 3 votes in favor, essentially what's going to happen is the current item before you, which is the rehearing on that resolution is going to stay the same, okay? Because you didn't grant the 100%, so that resolution needs to be adopted as is. What you're debating now to give a 50% rebate on 100% disabled, and we'll need some clarification at some point, as Mr. Hartman said, whether or not it's combat related, non-combat related. I don't know those distinctions, so that's something that you all have to find out and let us know. But at that point, we'll have a separate resolution on the next time that the waste is debated, And that resolution would be a resolution giving a 50% rebate for anyone requesting it who's 100% disabled or combat disabled, whatever the eventuality would be. And during that time between now and that next hearing, if Andy is able to convince Waste Pro to give up $2,000 roughly to rebate it directly to those residents, then maybe a resolution is not even needed, because then it would just be something that Waste Pro is agreeing to. So at this time,
You're actually meeting with them on Monday. Maybe you can ask them.
yeah, I'm not that brazen, Cass, and that will be an Andy call. So at this time, while the motion and a vote for purposes of future meetings is necessary, no action is officially being taken now. Just for clarification, it would be at the next time that a resolution comes up.
And Mayor, let me clarify. We're speaking about different standards of what constitutes that 100% fully disabled veteran. And I would certainly propose to you that we use the same standard that's currently applied to the ad valorem millage rate and the fire assessment fee, rather than create a new standard.
Agreed. Okay. Do we need to call the question?
Yeah, it's just basically a paper ballot vote
Okay.
on this matter.
Call the question.
Yeah.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Fisickelli,
The item before
Read
you.
it again, that we vote.
The item before you is whether or not you would agree to give a 50% rebate to 100% disabled veterans on their waste assessment.
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bright Cruz,
Yes.
Mayor McKay.
Yes, and thank you, council.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Great idea.
Motion to adjourn. Okay.